Now, developing a bike engine is a very expensive business, and especially so if you're a small Italian manufacturer like Aprilia. But what they did when they got their big meaty V-twin, they put it in the RSV Melee, the RSVR, then the Falco, and then the ginormous big trailer, the Capo Nord. What have they done now? They put it in this, which is the Aprilia Futura. Designed to fit into that cherished VFR Triumph Sprint Ducati S4 sports slot, this is in fact a softer version of its sports bike sibling, the RSV Melee. It's longer, the steering's just a tad slower, the suspension's a tad less firm, and the engine's power has been rounded out to make it more flexible. But there's more to it than that. Now first, the styling. Now you can't ignore it, can you? It's this edgy styling which has become quite popular, particularly in the world of cars. But look at all these sharp edges everywhere. It's very, very angular. Right round to the front. The headlight here looks pretty swish when in fact you switch it on. It's got this 3 lens set up, but even that is all very angular. The front of the fairing is all angular as well. And these mirrors here, now I'm not too keen on the rest of the styling is actually growing on me, but I must say these bug-eyed sort of mirror housings look very odd to me. Very neat. These heads actually swivel around just like that. The glasses themselves are quite small and they do vibrate a little bit, but I think they spoil the lines of the bike. But anyway, that's that bit. Very edgy styling there. The tank itself is a plastic one, which isn't a good idea if you're touring, because I do like my magnetic tank bag and it won't fit on there, needless to say. But you can put on one with a harness. That's what some of the only curves on the bike really, but it's got these edges here. Massive seat, absolutely enormous. Coming around to the rear end here, you've got this single silencer. You've probably seen it in the magazines and whatnot. Single silencer under there, and that is triangular too. But coming around to the engine here, because there's another part of the exhaust system which is actually underneath here, which you can't really see, but the catalyzer and the expansion chamber is right underneath the engine, so it's 2-stage exhaust system. The engine buried away in there, of course you can't see. It's a standard 60-degree 1000cc Melee motor in there. It's been retuned a little bit to make it softer and more rounded. It's got heavier flywheels on it as well, and this is to give it a more tractable feel. They put new fuel injection system on, which is the Sagem system. Again, that has been reprogrammed. And it's also got smaller throttle bodies. You might say, so what? Well, what they do is actually increase the airspeed through the chokes, and so at low engine speeds you're sucking fuel through in a better mixture because you've got higher speed air, so it makes for a more tractable motor again. But some quite neat touches on it. All these changes mean the engine feels different. It's around 10 brake horse down on the Melee, but although its delivery is wider and less edgy than the Sportster, it's still got bags of poke. At low traffic speeds it feels a bit lumpy and needs a steady right hand if you want to get a smooth pickup, but it's one of those things that you soon get used to. However, once spun up, all is forgiven, and it really does motor as only a chunky V-twin can. Loads of punch from anywhere you care to nail it, and the 6-speed gearbox certainly allows you to get the best out of it. Handling-wise, I didn't expect any problems. It's RSV based after all, but it is a tall bike with a seat height at 810mm, and as you sit pretty upright, it takes some getting used to. Nothing wrong with it, it's just different. Having said that, the more you ride it, the better it gets. And with the suspension fully adjustable for preload, plus compression and rebound damping, you really can tailor it to suit. Especially as it's got this big adjuster knob here for adjusting the preload. Dead easy to operate, even when you're riding along. Just turn it that way to actually crank up the preload if you've got a pillion passenger on or a lot of luggage, or slacken it off if you're running solo. And while we're here, you can see that it's got this massive single-sided swinging arm, very much like Ducatis, the VFR and Triumphs. Very, very neat. Up here, though, this back to the RSV now, because this is basically the RSV frame. They stretched the frame and swing arm assembly a little bit to give it another 20mm, just to give you a longer wheelbase and a bit more stability. And they've also kicked out the forks a touch, only 1 degree, but it's, again, just for this stability business. Front suspension's fully adjustable, by the way, as is the back. Forks themselves, they're upside downers, Brembo calipers, big 300mm discs, nothing exceptional there, alloy wheels. But this edgy styling follows right down to the mudguard. You can see it down there. Now see this? This isn't an alarm, that's actually the release for the seat. I bet you've never seen one there before, I certainly haven't. Put the key in there, just give it a turn, that should release the seat. But before I actually take it off, let me just show you this. This is an absolutely massive seat, as you can see. Very, very comfortable, very broad for you and the pillion passenger. And it's also got this little hump in. Not only keeps you in place, but if you see it, it actually rises up, so that tends to stop the pillion passenger sliding into your back. So it's very, very neat. just had to release that again because it sat on it. But anyway, the seat comes up, and it's the whole, it's not just, as you can see, the black part, the cushion, it's all the plastic as well. But surprise, surprise, even though it's absolutely enormous, there's no space under there for you. You've got your tools in there, got access to the battery, but you haven't got any access because the silencer's under there. So it's a nice styling thing, it looks nice and neat, but it does take up a hell of a lot of room that could have actually been used to put waterproofs under or whatever. But anyway, it's just one of those things, I suppose you get used to that. Now obviously Aprilia have taken this touring thing seriously, and as they should, it's a sports tourer. But if you look at some of the details, they're really good. Looking down on the centre line of the tank here, the petrol filler is actually slightly offset to the right hand side. So that is, when you've got a tank bag on there, you can just lift it to one side and easily get to the filler. Something else that they've got is a centre stand. And all touring bikes should have a centre stand, and they've got a nice little cushion grip on the side here. And even though this is on the grass, I shall demonstrate. And here we go. Quite easy, bike nice and stable. So they thought of everything. Very, very sensible. So back to the Futura, as you might say. Is it up to the job as a sports tourer? Yes is the short answer. As a tourer, it's comfortable and it's long-legged in its power delivery. And it's very, very easy to manoeuvre, especially if you've taken a wrong turning. The angular fairing offers really good protection, and on the sports side, its 210 kilos is reasonable. And while not in the hot sports bike class, it's no pudding either. It handles and stops well, and that engine is a proven one at delivering the goods. How much? It's going to cost you £8,870 on the road and £330 for the hard cases if you want them. It's a bit more expensive than its competitors, but after all, it is very, very different.